Hello guys, Dan Wood with Northern Sun Mercantile. In today's video I'm going to be building a new chicken tractor, 10x12. We've got two 10x12s that we run now. We had a couple of small chicken tractors that we used for backup, some 6x8s, which worked really good for quite a few years. They've been sitting though for a while, and I just went to dig them out of the weeds, and unfortunately they did not survive. So here I am with a pile of lumber here behind me. I'm going to build these. They're going to be built pretty sturdy. It's a little different than the regular Joel Salatin tractor. It's the same dimensions and same bracing, but I'm using 2x2 pressure treated instead of 1x2s for the framing. It's going to make it a little heavier, but we found that the 1x2s break every winter on us, and every year I have to go through them in the spring and completely rebuild them. So I'm going to give this a try. And I feel like it should be movable without a problem. We use a dolly underneath our chicken tractors. So let's get right into this. I'm going to start by ripping all of these into 2x2s. Just make a big pile of 2x2s because everything here will be ripped in half. There'll be a build list at the end of the video, which will have all the building materials that you need to build one of these. I am repurposing some metal roofing for this. But I'll have the quantities of metal roofing that you would need if you were to build this for yourself. And of course, I use 24-inch wide chicken wire to wrap all the way around the base, and some metal roofing, some short pieces around the backside just to give them a little bit of a windbreak. But let's get right into this and get started. Now to start with, to rip these, I want these to be pretty perfect, evenly split in two. 2x4 measures 3.5 inches wide, so that means that the stop's got to be set 1 3/4 to the center of the blade, and of course you got to have it up high enough so it'll rip through a 2x4. And I like to set mine so it's not sticking way out of the lumber, just a safety thing, just in case something happens. I usually leave about 1/4 inch high of the lumber. And there, now that we've got all the 2x2s ripped, I've got quite a pile of them over here. We'll get started on laying out the sides. The sides will be built independently of each other. There'll be four sides, obviously. The thing's a rectangle, 10x12. Pretty simple to lay out. Let's get into that. Now to get started on this, we'll cut our top and our bottom rail. This is for the long side. This will make one long side. I've got two 2x2s here. I'm going to cut those at exactly 12 feet. Just square up the ends. They're a little long right now. Now these sides are all, the uprights are going to be half lapped and screwed with 2.5-inch screws together. I'll show you how to do that. So basically, you're going to take your width, which is 1 3/4 inches. You want to make a line there, 1 3/4 inches. Use your square, mark across, and now we're going to want to remove the material halfway, and this is pretty simple to do carefully with a saw. But 2x4 is 1.5 inches thick, so I got to make this 3/4 inches. 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 here, and then this little bit of material is all going to get removed, and then the upright, I'll do the same thing with that, and then they'll fit right together. I'll show you how that works. It'll be pretty obvious here in a second. And to do this, I'm going to set my saw blade 3/4 of an inch deep. And if anything, you want to be just a hair deeper than that, just so you don't have to fight it. I'll lock that down at 3/4 of an inch deep. And now I can simply cut on that line, and it's going to be 3/4 of an inch deep. Just like that. And then there's a couple different ways that you could remove this material. I'm going to use my saw, and I'm just going to simply reset it down to the full depth. Follow that line. And I'll flip it over, do the same thing. And then you can just pop that piece out. And if there's anything left in there, I've got a chisel, and you can simply cut out that little bit that's left if there's anything left in there. There's not much in this case. And now I'll do that with the other side here. I've got to do it with both ends, and I've got to do one in the middle, which is a little more complicated, and I'll show you how to do that. But it'll all start to make sense here once I cut an upright. Now these uprights are exactly 2 feet. The tractor is 2 feet high. So I'm going to cut my uprights exactly 24 inches. I've already notched one end just to make it a little easier. There. And now this piece, notched on both sides, the ends or the top and bottom rail are both notched on both ends. And this is how this will fit together. This just slides right into there. It gets fastened tightly. Same thing on the other end. That's going to drop right into that notch and get secured with screws. Now I'll do the other end, and then I'll show you how to do the middle. All right, so for the middle notch, you want to find the dead center of the piece, which we know it's 12 feet long, so its dead center is going to be 6 feet. You want to find that point. Now we've got to make an 1 3/4 inch wide notch centered on the board that's 3/4 of an inch deep. And to do that, I know that half of 1 3/4 is 7/8, so 7/8 on each side of that line. Use my square to mark those outside dimensions. And then with my saw set at 3/4 of an inch deep, which I just double checked and it still is, we're going to cut the 2 outside lines. And make sure that you stay on the inside of these lines so the piece stays nice and tight. And now I can simply run my saw back and forth through the center section. So you get that all scored. I've got the chisel here, but also a hammer. Break these pieces right out of there and then clean it up with the chisel. Get right in there and clean these nubbies right off. So get this piece to lay nice and flat into there. Doesn't have to be perfect, but you just want to make sure all the high spots are gone. And you can always test fit your upright and make sure you're good. Looks pretty tight to me. Could be just a hair tighter, but it's sitting pretty flat. I'm pretty happy with that. And now we'll go on to assemble this whole side. So there'll be two sides that are 12 feet long, and then the two end panels will be, well, a little bit narrower than 10 feet because of the thickness of the side rails. Overall dimensions of this are 10 by 12 to the outside. Now for the fun part, the assembly. I'm just going to lay this out roughly in the size that it needs to be. I grab my 3 uprights, which are all cut and notched. And these will lay right into the notches. Just like that. And you want to make sure that they're seated all the way so this thing stays nice and square. Helps to have an extra set of hands to do this part if you have them. And I only have 2, so that's what I'm using. And once it's all together, you could even run a bead of liquid nail or some other liquid adhesive in the joint if you wanted to. I'm going to drill all these with galvanized deck screws. Now these screws are 2.5 inches long. It's a little overkill. I'm going to try to angle them to keep them from coming through. That's what I have, so that's what I'm using. You could definitely get away with, in this case, probably 1.5 inch, 1 5/8 screw would do fine. You want to make sure you're all flushed up on your outside edges here. And there, that's one side. Now this will have 2 diagonal braces, which will lay right in like that across with the angle cuts. I've found that the best way to go about getting that angle and getting the lengths perfect is just to simply slide the piece of lumber underneath, get it positioned where you want it, and then just simply scribe it in against your wood. That way these pieces come out perfectly every time. Now that I've got my piece cut, I'm just going to lay it right in there, make sure it fits, which it should. Fits nice and tight. Then we're just going to run some screws down into that to fasten it. Just do 2 screws in each end. You just want to make sure everything's flush. And then we'll do another one. Another brace that's going to run the other way. 2 screws in each end should be more than enough, and this is going to stiffen this whole thing up, and it works in conjunction with the center braces, which as we build this, you'll see how that goes together. Now I'll do the same thing there, get that one cut and installed, and then for now this side will be done. I've got to build one more side exactly like this, and then the ends are essentially the same, just the dimensions are a little different. And then we'll start to put the whole structure together, and there'll be more angle braces that tie into the roof system. Now that the two long walls are done, I'm going to make the end panels. The only difference in these is the size. Other than that, they're going to be constructed exactly the same as the side panels were. To make this 10 feet on the outside, since I'm using 1.5 inch thick lumber, I'm just simply going to subtract the 1.5 inch from each end, which puts my 10-foot end at 9 foot 9 inches. So I'll cut these 9 foot 9 inches, and then I'll make the notches, and everything else will go together exactly the same. And then once these are done, I simply stand everything up and run screws in and tie it all together. All right, so those are the two long walls, obviously. So this one, we got to bring this one around to that end. And these are going to go inside. Watch out, there's some screws sticking through that I got to snap off. There's one right there.
What's going to be inside?
This is going to be inside of that.
Oh.
So just hold that just like that. Just stand it up.
Yep.
And then I'll move this one out. It's a lot beefier than the ones in the field. So
cool, we won't be able to move it.
I think we'll
Awesome.
I think we'll be able to move it fine, especially once this stuff dries out. But now we've got to pull the bottom out a little. Hopefully it will go. Will it move?
Is it there? Good? It's not. This is a little low.
That's okay, as long as the top is good.
Okay.
Oh.
I see another one down there, no?
I can put another one down. It's not gonna hurt to have too many. There, that's good because I screwed it right through the joint, so that should stiffen it up. We'll do the same thing at the top. Looks huge.
Is it bigger?
No, it's the same size, 10 by 12, but just looks massive. There, I'll do the end, and then I gotta make all the interior framing. So watch out for those screws.
Good?
Yeah, it's close enough. Looks way sturdier than the other ones.
We'll see.
It should last. It's all pressure treated. None of the only thing on the other ones that was pressure treated was the bottom. So in theory, it probably weighs twice as much. I've got a lot of corner braces I'm going to be putting in too once I get the roof.
I would like
framing.
to know the cost to do this in all aluminum with all of the corners and shit.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know where you get them.
You can't get that. You can't just buy that shit.
The fittings? I'm not sure. It'd be a lot lighter if we could.
Better?
Yep.
Oh, Taylor. I forgot to text you.
Now let's see if we can pick it up. That's not bad. Alright, I'm good for now. I'm going to run the ridge down the middle. I'm going to lap joint the two ends on the ridge so that they sit 3/4 inch down. That way I can make a 3/4 inch thick top. And all the framing under it will still be 2x2s. So I've got every one of these corners is going to have an angle brace.
Even right here?
Yep. And that one's going to have another one that goes straight across too, so it picks up the other side of the bucket.
On this side?
On the side,
whatever
side we're going to have the solid panel on. Starting to look like something. And now the center support goes in the middle. Just got to make sure it's perfectly centered. And I've cut lap joints on this. So it sits down and it's going to stick up an inch, which is going to give me enough to make the roof panel so it sits flat. I'll go ahead and get this fastened in with a couple of screws. So I ended up pulling the ridge back off because I decided I wanted to lap joint those too, mortise it in. So I'll get this sitting like that. And that would all be great if I'd cut it the right way, but I didn't, so here we are. Let's see if I can still make this work. The lap joint should have been on the bottom, and I accidentally made it on the top. But I think I can still make this work. I'll just have to cut my ends off and screw those directly in, but this should actually work okay. Just need to go a little deeper with one of my notches, and then I'll just cut those ends off and toenail those in. And then since I'm exhausted and it's about 6 o'clock, I think I'll wrap this up for today and hit it again in the morning. Hopefully be able to finish this thing up and get our birds out. There, now this piece will go right in and it'll actually sit a little high on the outside. These notches fit right together. I have to spread it a little bit to get them to fit. It should go right in. Perfect. Now we'll just get that fastened and get these ends toenailed in. And then we should be good for today and back at it again tomorrow. All of this framing for the roofing is going to sit an inch high. Inch high from the rest of the framing. And that's so when I make the panels, this is going to be a chicken wire panel on this quarter, and this is going to be a solid roof panel, which is this side will be all removable, and that way it all sits at the level of the rest of the roof. Just make them so they drop right down in there. There, we'll hit it again tomorrow. Alright, so it's now the next morning, and all we really have to do to finish this finish the frame up is get all these braces in. I've already cut one, which butts into the upright piece and then gets screwed to the side of the ridge pole. And that'll get secured in and keep everything from flexing down. And then there'll be braces that go this way as well. And to do this, I essentially did exactly like I did on the sides. I just scribed it in. Got it to fit where I wanted it to. I've got one here that I can kind of show you. The angle should be good because it's the same as what's on the other end. And I just bring that into there and then determine where it's got to sit here. You just don't have to be exact, but you should be able to get that pretty close. Like that. Okay, so do the same thing on this side. And these that go the other way are gonna probably have sit up underneath the center here and then be tied into the upright. You just don't want them to stick up above the ridge pole, or we can adjust that to flush the top. Get started here. Describe that line there, and then hold that right in place. Describe the other line. You can always go just a little bit long on these. And run it through. Just kind of do a walk around so you guys can see really good where we're at right now. All the bracing is done. The center, everything braces to the outside, and it's almost like a triangle inside there, a dome. It's a very strong build. Now for these corner braces, you can make them whatever length you want. We're going to make them 2 feet long, 24 inches. They're going to stand across just like that and tie the corners all together. There'll be one on each of the outside corners, and I may add some interior ones as well. I'm going to remove some material so that this sits on top of this at the same height as the rest of it. So to start with, get these angles cut. 45-degree angle. You see that little speed square. Like that. Pull this out to where it flushes up on the outside. Now what I'm going to do, once it's flush here and here, you take a pencil underneath again, you scribe that line. Start right here. Scribe that line. And now I've got to recess this so an inch of this sticks up above. So this piece will now sit at the right level here. Just pull it back out to where it's flushed up on both ends. Got all the corner bracing done now on the fixed roof section. This is all essentially padded up an inch from the framing, which is why I made those relief cuts on my angle braces to get everything an inch higher than the framing. And the reason I'm doing that is because on the other end where the removable panels go, I want them to sit flat at the same plane as the back roof. I might have to add some cleats or something to get them to sit on. The corner braces on this end I don't have in yet. I'm going to put those in now. They'll be flush on top so that the chicken wire panel and the fixed roof panel can just sit down on top of those. And same thing, I'm going to make these 2 feet. And these don't have to have the relief cut since they're actually butting directly in. This will sit now flush on the top and be tied in just like that. And I'll do one on each side. I don't think I'm going to do one in the middle in this section. I might, I still haven't decided. Hopefully this video is giving you guys a decent picture into how to build one of these. There's a lot of just basic construction things. I mean, if you can figure things out, then you should be able to figure this out pretty easily. Now the only difference between this tractor and a Joel Salatin style tractor, I mean essentially it is a Joel Salatin style tractor, but it's just made with heavier framing. The only difference is this is 2x2 framing versus a 1x2 framing that we've used in the past, which hasn't held up. I think what I'll do here to support the water bucket that's going to sit here, I want this to be, I'll use the same 2-foot brace. So I'll just make a relief cut on the top side so it sits up the right level on that end. Just going to flush it up on the back side here, scribe another line, and then remove that material at the top, which is backwards from how I did it before. I'm actually removing 1 inch of material at the top so that it sits properly. Just like that. Now this will come up underneath. Just like that, and get screwed in. Okay, so just like that. Move it to where the joints line up. Just like that. That really stiffens it up. And then my bucket will sit right here with the water hanging underneath it. So now at this point I'm essentially ready to start the roofing. I'll do the back side first. I'm going to add some nailers or some screw points across to support the center section of the roof. I may just take another 2x2 and notch the end so it sits down the right level there. Just give myself a solid anchor point, but I'm more or less ready for the roofing now. And then I've just got to build these 2 panels and wrap the whole thing with chicken wire, and it'll be ready to use. So I am adding a nailer. It's going to be 2 pieces that go in right across here just to fasten the roofing to in the middle, keep that from buckling down. We found that without that, the roof sags in and it leaks. So I've got this centered in this distance. And I did cut the lap joint on this end. It'll be the same thing here. Again, centering it out. Just like that. There. And now we'll start cutting roofing. And one other thing that I forgot, got some scrap 1x here that I've just using to pad up the end to meet the level of the brace, just so I have something to screw the roofing to. So I'll go ahead and infill just across the back here with pieces, and I'll just cut the angles and screw these in and then get ready to run the roof. I'm going to cut all these roofing panels. These are recycled from our old tractors. I'm going to cut them all at 6'3". It's actually 6 feet this run, but I want it to overhang a little bit on the removable panel end. You can cut this with a pair of tin snips if that's what you have. I happen to have a power shear, which comes in really handy. Things like this. Now that I've got the roofing all on and fastened down, ready to run the wire, ideally I'd like to run the wire all the way around it. I'm not quite sure if I have enough. If I don't, this back section is getting wrapped with metal anyway, so I don't actually have to run it through here. I just usually do. It helps when you're running the wire to get it up off the ground a little bit. It just makes everything that much easier. So I'm blocking it up with some blocks. Now I'm going to use a 1/2" pneumatic staple to fasten the wire. Regular T50s tend to pull out, so I'm trying to make this so I don't have to make it again and keep repairing it constantly. Alright, this is the stapler that I'm going to use for the chicken wire. It's a Senko SNS 14, shoots 1.5" 1/2" staple. Little overkill for chicken wire, but it sure beats driving poultry staples one at a time by hand. So this is what I'm using. Works really good for projects like this. And I'm going to start, because I don't know if I have enough wire, I'm going to start right here, because that'll be metal back there anyway. So if I don't have enough, I know I got enough to at least get this front half. Helps to roll it out a little bit. I'm just going to keep it running nice and even on the top. Pop one in just to hold it. And I'll run the top, pull that nice and tight as I go. Once you get some rolled out, it definitely gets a lot easier. And then I like to just go back through, get the end all stretched nice and tight. All right, well, it's another morning here. I've got a few more hours. I should be able to get this wrapped up today. It's my third day of the project, but as far as hours go, I've got probably about 8 hours in it total. I haven't been able to work a full day on it. What's left to do today? Priorities are the screen panel for this quadrant and the fixed roof panel for the other side. That's the removable panel, so you can feed them and take them out and all that stuff. And the screen is actually, the way I build them, the screen is also removable. They're just built so they sit right down on top. I've added bracing here to carry the back side of the top. Actually 4 pieces that I've added, and that's just the same simple angle braces that I've been doing, and that's just to catch the back side of this panel so it sits flat and even with the back roof. So I've added 4 diagonals across here just to catch the back side of these panels. Of course, the other end is going to sit flat on the frame itself, and this is why I had everything, all the roof framing was up an inch. The center beam is up an inch, and that's so that this panel is going to butt right into this and sit flat here. Same thing with the roof panel on this side, so that everything flushes up and is somewhat watertight. I'll make the roof so it overlaps that, the back side. That way we stand a chance of this thing being pretty dry for them. Pretty happy with the way it's coming out. It's very sturdy. It does still seem to be decently movable, especially with the dolly. Once I get a rope on this, I don't think we're going to have a problem at all. So I'm pretty happy with the way it's coming out, and I can't wait to get the birds out. They are actually in the brooder right now. They're three weeks old. They're ready to come out, so get this thing done today and get them moved out in the morning. All right, to get started, I'm going to make the screen panel here first, and it's pretty simple. I'm just going to make it so it fits from the outside edge. Okay, let's see, I got 58.5 inches, and then I'll make it so it butts right into that metal roof, which is 69 inches in my case. I've ripped some 1x2s out of a 1x8 that I had on hand. I'm gonna make the top so it's a lot lighter. Just made this stock. It just happens to be barn red, which is fine with me. It'll help keep it from rotting. So I'm going to cut my 2 back pieces first and then cut my long sides. So 58.5. I'm going to cut 2 pieces at 58.5. There's one. There's 2. Just kind of lay these into place where I want them. Like that. And now I'll cut my long pieces, and these are going to be full length because they're actually going to sit on top of that. 69, 2 at 69 inches. In my case, I'm just going to use the stapler that I used for the netting poultry wire to fasten these together. And probably just for good measure, I'll put one right down the middle too, just to keep everything solid. Our laying hens are out in the field with these tractors, and they tend to walk on the roof, and that'll keep them from caving it in. And if anything's slightly out of square, it kind of helps to build it right in place like this. And in my case, I know it is slightly out of square. One thing to note when you're framing this up, once you get the walls up, one thing I forgot to do and I knew better is just to pull diagonals and square it up before you start running all these braces, because it's really hard to straighten it out once you have the braces all attached. So that's a lesson learned on my part. I'm used to building big buildings, so I know to do that, and I didn't in this case, figuring it was just a small thing and it wouldn't matter, and it doesn't really, but it's nice to have things built nice and square. Now I'll run one more 69-inch piece right down the middle of this so I have something to fasten the wire to. I'll go ahead and fasten that piece. I'm just putting 3 staples in each end. And now what I'm going to do is infill these little pieces on both sides, 4 little pieces of lumber, just to make that a little more rigid. This 1x is really light, so I'm not worried about it adding a lot of extra weight. The only other thing that I am going to do is add an additional piece on the underside here to carry the bucket. This is just for infill, so I'm going to just use up some scrap that I have here. This is just to hold the buckets. There, now we're ready for chicken wire. We'll grab this 6-foot chicken wire and we'll get that stretched out over this and fastened. I'm going to remove the top to get this wire on. It's just going to make everything a lot easier to do it on the ground. And same thing, I'm going to follow one edge, get it on there nice and straight, and then I'll trim the edges. Now this panel is done. Now we'll work on the metal roof fixed panel. I like the way that slides and fits. I'm pretty sure Heather's going to like that too, because we were constantly, with our old ones, we're constantly having the corner drop in because you only have the center support to rest it on. In this case, I've got the 45-degree pieces, so it sits there nice and flat and stays put. Now the fixed panel side of this is going to be constructed almost identical to the screen portion. The only difference is going to be that my center support in that will actually be turned and run the other way in this, just so I have something to fasten the roofing to. But other than that, the construction is basically the same, just kind of doubling up on the ends, infilling that, and making it essentially the same design. This one's going to be, it's like 59. It should be 69 again. 69 works good here. So I'll go ahead and I'll cut my cross pieces first. Now one thing to note here, this back piece I'm not pulling all the way out to this roofing because it hits the diagonal brace in the center, so I did pull that forward a little bit. It's not going to matter as long as I have something to screw the roofing to. So that's why I did that. It's actually spaced 2.5 inches this way to clear this angle brace, because if I slide it all the way back, it'll hit that. I'm going to cut these pieces of roofing so that they overlap onto the main roof. So to get that dimension, I'm just going to hook on. I think I will, since that's 69 inches, I'm going to make these 6 feet even so that they lap right back onto this roof pretty good. And as long as I'm heading uphill with it, everything will shed down. It's not always the case, and sometimes you do get some dripping in this area. You just got to know enough to set the feeders underneath it. Yeah, I've got all my roofing panels cut to length. Probably have to trim the edge of one of them because I think it's a little wide. We'll start getting these laid out. And these I'm just going to flush up, maybe overhang a little bit on the side here. Flush up on the face. I'll screw these in and then I'll rip my fill piece. It's like about a 12-inch piece should do that. I can go ahead and get this screwed in. Yeah, that should work really nicely. It flips right up nice. And we can put our feeders and our waters in, and this is where the feeding area is in the tractor. That's why it's got to have solid roofing on it just in case of rain. But yeah, I really like the way this came out. It's nice and sturdy but also very light. Now this next step is not 100% required, but I do like to give them a windbreak, and it helps if the rain is blowing. I'm going to take some of this scrap metal roofing that I have and run it along the back like this and down the sides just halfway, depending on how much I have, but I'll get that put on, and then the rope tied on, we'll be good to go. Now the last thing to do before this thing goes into service is my pull rope, and I'm going to space it about halfway. So I want to make sure you don't catch the wire, because you don't want it pulling on the wire. Tie a good knot, and then I take a staple and I staple it so it doesn't pull on that wire. You want this so that you're just bending down and picking up with your knees. I'll run this through and then adjust it to the length I need. Cut it a little long. Think about there is probably good for me. If you're taller, you can make it longer. Couple of staples just to hold it really good, and then just trim my end. and we are ready to use this. That should work nicely. And there, that's going to be it for this video. Hopefully this helped you in your project and gave you some tips and pointers to making one of these. A lot of the just basic general construction knowledge is helpful. If you can figure things out though, you can definitely build one of these. Really pretty simple, a lot of angles, and you know the pointers I gave you for figuring out angles should help a lot. We're going to get this thing in use tomorrow, and it'll be in use right up until November, end of November actually, and then next spring we'll be using it in full force again. We do about 1,000 meat birds here a year, so this will be our third tractor that's this size. We'll be running 3 of them now. I have, like I said in the past, the 2 10x12s that we have out there. I've had some 2 6x8s that I've used for years. Keep a small amount of birds in, like 25 to 30, and it just helps if we have any overflow and need something. But this is going to solve our immediate problem, and we can get our birds out in the field and to get them grown out. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.